Where's the article? Ah, here it is. Let me just make sure that... Let me just make sure that it doesn't actually have anything there that's going to be a problem. No? No, okay, we're good. We're good. Hentai fights back. Drops bombshell evidence showing they were granted permission to host pirated content. So, I think, J18 and Just USA are filing a lawsuit, or I guess under PCR, filing a lawsuit against Hentai. And, Hentai, they've hired some fucking god-tier lawyers. Their lawyers are insane. So, Hentai, a prominent platform for showing adult content, filed a motion to dismiss a copyright infringement lawsuit brought by California-based PCR Distributing. PCR operating under brands like J18 and Just USA, alleged that Hentai hosted copyrighted material without authorization, claiming this posed a threat to its business. In response, Hentai challenged the allegations on multiple legal and procedural grounds. I figured Hentai will be run by some dudes. Is there an actual company behind it? They're one of the biggest hentai sites, so I imagine they get quite a bit from advertising. Like they do have ads on their website, so they do make money from that. Also, you can probably crowdfund stuff as well. PCR's legal action began with a DMCA subpoena aimed at unmasking Hentai's operators, citing the platform's failure to process takedown requests. After opposition from Hentai, PCR escalated the dispute by filing a lawsuit in the Central District of California. The complaint accused Hentai of sharing copyrighted works without securing proper permissions. Hentai's motion to dismiss argued that PCR failed to meet the standards of copyright infringement and raised issues concerning ownership, permissions, and timeliness of the claims. So, here is a breakdown of their defense. Firstly, ownership discrepancies. Hentai stated that PCR has not demonstrated legal ownership of the works in question, a fundamental requirement for filing a copyright infringement lawsuit. The defense highlighted several inconsistencies, noting the public records listed Just USA, not PCR, as the copyright owner for some of the works. So they're arguing, basically, that even though PCR is the owner of Just, the copyright of the work is owned by Just, not PCR. So PCR filing a lawsuit on behalf of Just is not allowed, basically. Just USA, it stated it was a separate corporate entity with distinct ownership and operations, undermining a PCR's claim of ownership. Basically, they are distinct entities, and PCR doesn't actually own the copyright just because they own Just. Hentai also argued that PCR failed to provide evidence of any licenses or assignments from Just USA, granting it the right to enforce these copyrights. So, also PCR didn't show any evidence that they were allowed to do this on behalf of Just. The motion contended that vague references to negotiating contracts were insufficient to establish ownership or exclusive rights. The company pointed out that certain copyright registrations listed Just USA, not PCR, as the legal claimant, calling PCR's standing to sue into question. 2. Unclear scope of copyrighted materials. Who is Just? You can look them up. I don't know if I can show their website. Can I show their website without showing titties? No. No, I can't. They are a distributor of visual novels and other forms of hentai in USA. So, concerns were also raised by the defense about the clarity of PCR's claims regarding what was actually copyrighted. Firstly, classification of literary works. Hentai asserted that some of the registered copyright were classified as literary works, which explicitly exclude images under USA copyright. This distinction was critical because the lawsuit primarily involved images shared on the nhentai.net. So they describe them as literary works. However, manga is technically not a literary work under US copyright because of its primary use of images. English translations. Hentai noted that some registrations were for English translations of original works, which might not cover the images themselves. So the images and the text are legally distinct entities, even though in a manga, in a doujin, they are merged together. A lack of specificity. The Emotion criticized PCR for failing to specify how the allegedly copyrighted materials overlapped with the content hosted on nhentai.net. Nhentai argued this lack of detail left both of the defendants and the court unable to evaluate the claims. Basically, they didn't even specify which content they supposedly own is on nhentai. They just want to take everything down, but they're not saying, well, this is the specific thing that is legally questionable. Also, this is the fun part. Permission already granted. Furthermore, nhentai presented the bombshell evidence that PCR representatives had granted explicit permission for use of their content on the website. Citing communications from 2020 in which PCR representatives, including those from J18 and JAST USA, explicitly allowed the platform to host their works. One email stated that it wasn't a takedown request or a DMCA, further stating that a market for anime and manga exists in the West due to piracy. So, to whom it may concern, right from the beginning, I want to stress this isn't a takedown request or a DMCA. I spent enough time sailing the high seas myself to know they're pointless and nobody listens to them anyway. So this is someone from PCR who's like, yeah, this isn't a takedown. I pirate stuff as well. You know, we all do that. My name is David. You might know me better as Rotoscopic. I'm a scan leader, now serving as the managing director at the manga publisher J18, the publisher of manga like Forihara Iyapan, Sato Kuki, Netosis, Dojinshi, and a couple of others. We also work closely with JAST, division of a publisher like Steins Gate, You and Me, and Her, and Sadistic Blood. We know people don't always have the money to buy official releases or just don't want to pay for them. We know the only reason that any market at all for anime and manga exists in the West is because of piracy. So we're not interested in trying to fight any sites about this stuff. However, a few months ago, we were able to strike a deal with the admin over at X Hentai about what to do about properties to which we have rights being uploaded to their site. When the raw scanlations or rips of properties to which we own or manage the rights get uploaded, we're able to slap a banner over the top like so. I've attached 2 examples with what it looked like to this email. Hentai argued these communications demonstrated a collaborative relationship, negating any claims of unauthorized use. This is why you have to be so fucking careful about how companies communicate together. Because if you ever want to go legally against them, they're going to fucking pull out all of the receipts. They also highlighted these permissions were never formally revoked. The statute of limitations. The defense argued the PCR had been aware of the alleged use of its works since 2020, as evidenced by the permissions granted during that time. They asserted, due to this, that many of PCR's claims were barred by the 3-year statute of limitations under the US Copyright Act. Hentai contended that the continued presence of works on its site did not constitute separate acts of infringement, and the statute of limitations had already elapsed for the claims. So, they were given permission 4 years ago, and because it's been more than that time, the statute of limitations has passed, and now they're arguing that they no longer have any legs to file this case on. Also, unrelated website claims. Hentai also sought to strike all claims related to the domain nhentai.to, stating that it operated independently and had no affiliation with nhentai.net. So basically, there was a unaffiliated site that also called itself nhentai, and that was being used as part of the lawsuit. They didn't control the website. It had nothing to do with them. Someone just called it nhentai. They also criticized PCR's request to transfer ownership of the domain as excessive and baseless. The website stated that it hosted over 500,000 pages, while PCR's claims concerned fewer than 1% of them. The defense argued that transferring ownership of the entire domain was unwarranted. Hentai further noted that granting PCR control over the domain would disrupt existing contracts with other companies, further demonstrating the unreasonableness of the request. This is so stupid. This is absolutely fucking dumb, and I love it so much. Whoever these lawyers are, right, like, they absolutely fucking cooked. They found some just cracked lawyers to handle this case. Oh, God.